Hi, I'm Roger Bell. We're farming here along with my wife Hilary, County Antrim, Northern Ireland. We're running roughly 550 ewes and finishing 70 cattle. So in the winter time, we'll be wintering 140.
I'm Jeffrey Morganson, farming here between Banbridge and Newry, County Down. I'm running 130 head approximately dairy herd on a grassland based system with 50 or 60 pedigree Charolais ewes as well, and a small acreage of arable farming on the side. Running a predominantly autumn calving system here, block calving, and running a full-time grazed herd, grazing 6 to 7 months of the year.
My name's Greg O'Boyle and I farm here outside Randallstown in partnership with my father. We've a 50-acre home farm and we've 17 acres out farm outside of Randallstown as well. We lamb approximately 250 ewes. That compromises of 200 ewes and approximately 50 ewe lambs. And we also have excess silage for B&B cattle as well.
I'm Brian McCracken. I farm in partnership with my son and my wife in the Creganted Hills in County Down. We have 240 spring calving New Zealand Friesian Jersey cross cows on a 80 hectare milking platform, and we calve from February to end of April, beginning of May.
Hi, I'm John Edgerton and there's my son William. We farm with two other boys here in Fermanagh. We have about 260 acres of land. We farm suckler cows to beef. We have a blade calf rearing enterprise, a sheep enterprise which William will mention, and we also finish some beef cattle.
So I'm William Edgerton. I farm along with my father. I run the sheep end of things. It's roughly 250 ewes, clins and New Zealand Suffolk cross, grazed on roughly 40 acres from mid-March to mid-October, scanning roughly 200% and trying to focus on getting as much away off grass as possible.
Frank Tully from Downpatrick, farming in partnership with my father and mother, farming 500 acres from our suckler cow to beef system. So this was all about here, where everything's a grass-based system here on a rotational grazing paddock-based system. The maximising amount of grass we can grow. Everything through on the farm is brought through the beef and finished off grass. There's no concentrate or little to no concentrate finished on the farm.
The benefits I found involved in GrassCheck, yeah, a lot of benefits. So we do quite a lot of measuring of everything on the farm, to be fair, and it's our sole measurement for our grazing platform. So the advantages for me is it is just utilisation of grass. So knowing exactly what each paddock is growing, knowing how it's growing, knowing when it's growing, and being able to make informed decisions really on how to manage that grass throughout the year. It's got so different now every grazing season, this one especially. When we thought it should have been hitting 80, 90, 100 a day, it dropped down to us to 25, 29. So it's just been able to make the right decisions at the right time of year.
During the GrassCheck project, any benefits I've found is basically the daily input of data that you have at your fingertips, whether it's measuring the grass on a weekly basis, knowing your production, your forecast, your growth from the weather stations, from the quality results coming back weekly from a range across the province of different soil types and fields and weather types. Basically the large amount of data you have constantly available, and the group of like-minded farmers you have to chat to as well that are measuring grass along with you.
The key benefits of being in GrassCheck are you're measuring your swards weekly and you're measuring it to manage it, and you're keeping your supply and demand of grass in balance, and the wage is kept in line with demand.
The benefits for us for GrassCheck are, first of all, we're involved with a group of other like-minded farmers. We share information and we have access to good advice when we need it. We use aggregate as a package that we put our field performance and grass growth into, which means then we have day-to-day management, weekly grass growths, annual performance per field, fertiliser controls, so we have a really good handle on what happens on the farm with the GrassCheck.
Yeah, I've been involved with the GrassCheck probably almost from the start. I found it huge benefit. We've been able to carry a lot more stock on the farm, by dividing the farm into paddocks and been fit to manage the grass, to know when we had enough and when we were liable to run short. We've been able to cut out paddocks and with confidence. The first year it probably was a bit trial and error, and we were still afraid to cut out paddocks, but once we got used to measuring grass and budgeting grass, it made everything a lot more easy and give us more confidence. And now when I go out to measure grass, I always try and guess how much is on the paddock before I actually look at the plate meter to see am I anywhere close to it. And I am getting there, yeah, and I think that's more, rather than just walking around the field plumping the plate meter down. I think it's a matter of looking around the field and seeing what you have on the field, and to know then in everyday management, you know what grass you have ahead of yourself.
Grass measuring is a big thing on the farm. I've been measuring grass here for 10 years or more, and then whenever the opportunity became part of the GrassCheck programme in 2017, I jumped to that because it more is given discipline to make sure you're doing it on a weekly basis, because it's a very, very big part of the system and what we do here, making sure that the way the cattle are moved around and kept at the maximum performance. And then also being involved in a group of like-minded people as well is a big thing as well, and it's a system you can dip in and out of other people's knowledge and other things that are going on with other people at different parts of Northern Ireland and around the country, because there's massive variation even from ourselves here to our neighbours 5 miles over the road, from soil type, climate, whatever else there is. So it's a big thing from that. And also having the GrassCheck, we have weekly grass samples is a big thing, so we can also monitor grass quality at all times of the year in case we need to adjust our system as we're going through the grazing season, rather than just thinking it's all right when maybe we're not having the same energy or proteins in the grass at that time.
So day-to-day measuring of the farm. So Hilary goes out every week and plate meters every field on the farm to let us see where our grass growth is. And then also every batch of sheep that goes in and out of a new paddock, we have to measure it before the sheep goes in, and then we measure it after the sheep go out. And that lets us see how much grass we're actually utilising.
On a day-to-day basis, the amount of input you can have from the range of information, whether it's allocating the right amount of grass, going by AgriNet, your grass wedge, you can always ballpark and guess how much grass to give a cow, but if you can accurately see what dry matter the field's doing compared to the next field, and also by the predictions from your weather stations and the forecast ahead, you can allocate grass more accurately. You can see when there's surplus coming up or deficit coming up before even the weather changes. To the eye, you can tell from AgriNet on your grass measurements. You can also keep an eye on your protein levels and your energy levels and your grass quality from the weekly samples being taken and results coming back, so you can adjust your rations or inputs in the parlour to suit.
Day-to-day management would constantly be looking at the wedge and adapting our numbers or our grazing plan to suit, keeping the wedge in line by either maybe taking out paddocks for silage or increasing our grazing area or decreasing our grazing area.
On this farm, clover, yes, we have been establishing clover now for 5 or 6 years to top up the levels of clover throughout the grazing platform. We've had a few mixed results with the sprays and clover safe sprays now that aren't on the market anymore, so some of the weed issues and weed control has been the challenge. So recently we have actually started going with straight ryegrass in our reseeds and not using clover, and then to cover the weed control in the first 6 months and then stitch clover in the second year, which is some success there in these last few years. In terms of multi-species, we haven't ventured into multi-species yet, simply because our grazing platform land availability was quite tight and we hadn't room to experiment with it. So it's on the back burner for the future sometime.
Numerous benefits to clover. Obviously, it's a legume, so it provides nitrogen to the grass and your sward, and it also is nutritious. It's higher in protein and higher in minerals, and it's a different rooting structure than the grass, so helps grows in conditions where the grass doesn't grow as well. And I've noticed definitely in my own growing pattern it brings along higher growth rates, and especially in August, September time. Drawbacks, I suppose, weed control is an issue. Also, there's a lot of variability in the amount of clover in the sward, and it can also, I know it's not an issue with us with sheep, but I know there's an issue with bloat as well in cattle.
We have dabbled a bit in multi-species with the experiment with AgResearch. We have more success with some clover we established over the last few years on about a third of the grazing platform. I suppose initially due to high fertiliser prices, but we look at it as we're sort of upskilling ourselves. If there are restrictions in the future in fertiliser usage and what we're allowed, the cows have performed well on it. Establishment is after reseeds, not during a reseed, so as we can clean up weeds before we establish the clover. And it is a challenge to establish. Needs to be in April, May time, and needs a different management while you're establishing it. So that's a challenge on farm, but the performance from the cows has been good, and we're quite happy with it.
So out in the sheep ground, there would have been a good high amount of clover content. It was fantastic last year for helping to grow as much grass as possible with as little amount of fertiliser, but due to the continued rain from basically last July up until now, the clovers took a serious hit this year, and I have lost about 50 to 60% of my clover due to that.
Yeah, I have tried multi-species, and I'm probably one of the few people in the west of Northern Ireland that have tried it, and there is benefits without a doubt. With massive reduction in fertiliser application and growing a similar amount of grass or of fodder. There is tremendous drawbacks here in the west. It's not persistent. It doesn't like getting its feet wet. It doesn't like rain or tramped. It does everything it can to try and die out. There is benefits. We've done fecal egg counts and there is anthelmintic benefits. But the persistency is the big thing. And there's some of it in now 2 years, 2.5 years, and it's practically all gone. There's still grass and clover, but I think the varieties, need to be, there needs to be something done to make them more persistent, especially in the west and in wet conditions.
This is a batch of growing cattle, about 14 months old growing cattle in a multi-species, typical multi-species, off the peg, 6 species mix. You've got red, white clover, plantain, chicory, with the tall fescue, small bit of cocksfoot, and then your perennial ryegrasses in the mix. Cattle are grazing this pretty much the same style of system around the rest of the farm, albeit they come into it at a heavier cover, and they go out of it at a heavier cover as well, but they're still on a 2-day paddock rotation system as they move through it. Cattle are content and happy on it all the time. One of the main real things to see from it is, for the bloat issue or the worry that we have on the farm, is making sure the cattle are never hungry, so they're not going in on an empty stomach into the next paddock, so they're gorging on these clovers. That's what we're finding is causing the bloat, which is becoming an issue on the farm. So trying to find that, it's taken us a while to figure that out, and there's been a few mishaps along the way, but now we have it, I think we have it sussed.
Optimise grassland performance, we are reseeding based on our grass measurement on the production of the grass fields and the grass platform. If a field isn't keeping up to mark, no matter whether it's 3 years, 4 years or 10 years old sward, it'll be turned over and reseeded or direct drilled. We are optimising our pH by keeping lime at the correct level, testing every 2 to 3 years and applying if necessary. P's and K's are topped up on an individual basis per field according to soil type and usage of the ground. And also we have been, up until this rotation, we've always been pre-mowing. This maybe up to 10 years now in front of the cows, which is getting very high levels of grass utilisation across the platform, and it seems to be helping regrowths and getting large outputs. from each field. And on top of that, we have restructured some of our laneways, and we're now up to about 90% astroturf laneways. So we have multiple access into fields to try and keep poaching to a minimum, and with entry and exit points in every field in different locations, we can graze much more efficiently and make use of longer grazing windows into the autumn.
Yeah, well, we've been reseeding swards to include clover and obviously newer, fresher pasture. And usually we would top the paddocks as we come out of them in May or June time to get rid of that stemmy material and let slate into the bottom of the sward to help promote the clover growth.
Well, with measuring weekly on the farm, we know which fields aren't performing, and those are the fields that we will actively reseed. So we're running at about 10 to 15% reseeding per year on the grazing platform and other blocks of ground as well. But we want to produce the best type of feed with the best varieties that the cows actually will want to eat.
So the sheep ground's split into paddock systems with 4 strands of electric wire. It helps me produce more from the grass in a smaller area. It gives the field more of a chance to rest. Also liming, just to make sure my pH is up on 6.2 to 6.5. Sort of ideal conditions for growing clover.